So people got mad because Bernie Sanders tweeted, Rep. Liz Cheney will likely be voted off the House Republican leadership. Her crime acknowledging the reality that Trump lost the election. The Republican Party is no longer a conservative party. It is an anti-democratic cult pushing the big lie and conspiracy theories. So people got really mad at him. And then someone, threw back, which is a tweet from Liz Cheney saying liberals like Bernie Sanders and Nancy Pelosi are more committed to waging a war on fossil fuels than defending ISIS. She's such a piece of shit. No surprise, commie. Which is it, Liz? Which is it? Is he a liberal or a communist? Surely even you understand the difference between
No,
those
she
two
does
things.
not. She absolutely
She's
does not.
so dumb.
She doesn't understand.
She looks like a chip. Like, I don't want to offend chipmunks, but she looks like some weird chipmunk, like and I don't want to. She looks like a mix between a Pomeranian fox, and a chipmunk. What do you think? Is that violence to those animals?
I don't see the animal look. I don't see the animal look.
No surprise, commie Bernie Sanders, who honeymooned in Soviet Union, is okay with U.S. getting attacked first. On a side note, he seems to have daddy issues with my daddy. All right. Do you really? Oh, and then because Bernie, all praise be upon him, tweeted, taking national security advice from a Cheney has already caused irreparable damage to our country. We don't need any more. Thanks. I don't know what that was in response to, but I'm sure something that Liz Cheney
It was probably something she said. Actually.
Yeah, right. I mean, you should have issues with your daddy, by the way. You should have issues with him because he's a monster. You do have issues, even if you don't know about them. And your sister should have issues, though. I guess she's okay with it because he came out for marriage equality. Like, because he has a daughter who's a lesbian.
Yeah.
But he's not, like, an anti-homophobe. He just was, like, against, changing the Constitution, so it banned that. But his president, for whom he served as vice president, wanted to do that. Remember he got so much credit for that?
Yeah, they acted like he was, like... But people... And they still call them, like, compassionate conservatives when it was extremely...
No.
Homophobic.
Yeah, and she just cared about her tax bracket, the daughter. Yeah. She didn't give a shit. And then drives me crazy. Who was it? Was it John Edwards who mentioned that his daughter is a lesbian? Now, I get that's politically unwise, but there's nothing unfair about saying, like, your president thinks that your daughter's way of life, like that your daughter's way of life should be, that the Constitution should be changed to stop your daughter's right to get married, right? Like,
yeah.
That's totally fair. You're just calling out hypocrisy.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But
because the media is so stupid, everyone was like, that was terrible.
Yeah.
How dare he?
How dare he talk about his child who was like 40, 40,
yeah. And also, what's wrong with you if you think it's offensive and problematic to talk about, like, she's out of the closet. She's openly, like, she is gay. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that you're a hypocrite, right? Yeah. So... But of course, that should be no surprise. Anyway, so, all right, he'd said that. And then Rep. Liz Cheney. Oh, Rep. Liz Cheney, daughter of Dick Cheney, yesterday attacked the fraud of socialism. Really? I wasn't aware that it was socialism that lied about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and got us into a horrific war that we should never have started. And then... wrap it up with Rep. Liz Cheney will likely be voted off the House Republican leadership, a crime acknowledging the reality that Trump lost the election. The Republican Party is no longer a conservative party. It is an anti-democratic cult pushing the big lie and conspiracy theories. Okay. Here's my thing. You can do all of that. I think you can do all of those things at the same time. You can, acknowledge that as he did, that she's a terrible person who is genetically predisposed to be a terrible person, comes from a family of terrible people, and you can acknowledge that it's weird and like that I don't know.
Well, I think the problem is there's nothing weird about it. It's a goofy tweet. It doesn't make any sense. Of course, the Republicans would do that. Of course, they would turn that's what a actual political party is. Maybe Bernie doesn't know because he's an independent.
He's not even a Democrat.
Yeah, he's not even a Democrat, and he only looks at the Democrats, so he doesn't know how an actual political party works. But if you turn on the leader, then you're punished for that. That's what a political party is. So it's a goofy tweet. like just on its
Yeah.
face. It doesn't make why would you even say that? Why would you go out of your way to say that as a defense of someone who's calling you a commie? And like what is the point of that? Like the GOP is in any sensible sense, like from their rational standpoint, they're not doing anything wrong or anything the Democrats
That's
shouldn't do.
interesting. Right. You're saying they have the party discipline that the Dems lack.
Yeah, it's just party discipline. Like I don't even understand. Like why would you chastise them for
Because
that?
I guess I do think there's a difference, like, and we could argue about the significance of the difference, the moral difference, but I do think there's a difference between like the Cheneys, who are radical. The problem is when people portray like neocons as not radical, right? Which some people do. They present them as the sensible ones, and we all know that Bush has more blood on his hands than Trump.
They're the most radical ones.
Right.
They're the worst. They're the worst of the worst. Dick Cheney is the worst of the worst, and Liz Cheney is also the worst of the worst. So I just don't understand. Like, and yeah, so that's another problem with this aspect, that you're framing Liz Cheney as reasonable and not part of a death cult who pushed conspiracy theories that led us to a war.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's not even like the problem wasn't that it led us to a war. Is that we killed 1 million people in Iraq because of the conspiracy theories that the Cheneys peddled. So the Republican Party is no longer a conservative party. Doesn't make any sense. We've dragged people for saying stuff like that before. So I there's no line in this tweet that's true, that makes sense. And it's also like, what is the point of even saying it? You can't help Liz Cheney. It's like I don't know. It seems a very low effort, low thought tweet from top to bottom. I think it's a bad tweet just on his face. Forget if Bernie said it, Forget even dragging the person who said it. I'm just saying on an objective level, just the tweet. I'm just judging the tweet.
Sure.
Awful tweet on its face. And then when you get the larger context where she's calling him a commie and who Liz Cheney is specifically, like, just not a good tweet. But I'm just saying it's not a good tweet. I'm not saying
you're not saying cancel him.
Yeah, we don't have to cancel
I guess I do think that there's a difference between the Cheney type of Republican and what's his name, McCarthy?
Is McCarthy in danger of losing his integrity among his core supporters? Bertha and Delmar Bullion see no problem.
So Donald Trump has said the election was stolen. Right. And your congressman, McCarthy, has not said, no, Mr. Trump, it hasn't been stolen. He's kind of gone along with it. How do you feel about that?
I feel it was stolen.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Is there proof of it?
I have real suspicions based on evidence that we've come across.
What's the evidence, if you don't mind me asking respectfully?
Well, I mind you asking.
You do mind me asking?
Yes.
I'm being respectful.
Yes, you are.
But you don't want to tell me.
No.
It's a little bit funny, though. You have to admit. Like, I do mind you asking.
Yeah, she's funny. She's funny. She's entertaining.
We can hold two ideas in our heads at the same time. Liz Cheney, bad. Republicans, weird. This strain of republicanism, weird.
I think the problem is that, like, actually the strain of republicanism is a lot better and more normal than the strain of Liz Cheney. Like, we would be better off if people, like, I don't know, maybe if not America, but the world would probably be better off if we were ran by, like, Trump cultists who just wanted, like, Trump in power than if we were when we were run under. I mean, we already have to test it. Bush was a worse president, more destructive president than Donald Trump. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, if we have to choose one, I'm still choosing the Trump people than the Cheneys. Like,
they're funnier too.
Yeah, they're
funnier
too, less organized, therefore less destructive. Absolutely horrible. But if you have to pick one or the other, like Liz Cheney is like literally the worst. I mean, does anyone think we'd be in less wars if people like Liz Cheney had Trump's ear? I don't think anyone thinks that. Does anybody think the world would have been a better place if Donald Trump listened to Liz Cheney more? Will a single human being on the planet say that? I don't. Other than Liz and Dick Cheney, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's like so what? So what are you even saying? Like, yeah, the Trumpers are weirder and grosser and more annoying, but the Cheneys, they have shown, first of all, they will work with weird, gross, annoying people, as the Bush administration did. They had the proto Tea Party stuff during the
Right.
but like all the people have just memory hold like the cultural aspects of George W. Bush. He was a far right Christian, born again
Yes.
conservative,
Of
and
course,
shoved it in our face constantly. It's so funny that every time people talk about that era, all they talk about is being annoyed by atheists without realizing how big and how influential Bush's Christian fundamentalism is, and that's far worse and more destructive than I think Trumpism, and it's still around. And I think we might be in line for some more of it. But the Bush, like, people just don't remember any of the culture around Bush for some reason, which is bizarre because he has this reputation of being. He has more of the reputation of his father, where his father was more like a straight down, like a taxes and less taxes, more freedom for business conservative.
Right.
George W. Bush was cultural. He was about guns, God, and government. That was guns, God, and small government. Unless we're doing it overseas, then we do it big. That I don't know how we got confused about that. Like he was like a stupid hick who was like he was the first Trump. I don't know how we've. And Dick Cheney, people
Also very entertaining, kind of like Trump.
I actually never. Trump is way funnier than George W. Bush. I'm sorry.
Trump. Come on, I know how hard it is for you to put food on your family. I mean, little turns of phrase that weren't cutesy. I'm not talking about him being cutesy.
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
found it funny because he's just like dumb and doesn't know how to talk. Like Trump is actually like coming up with stuff and riffing and
He's
making
he's
little
like a stand-up
jokes.
comedian rapper. He's
And like
could be
entertaining
either good-
himself too while
Yeah.
he's talking. Whereas George W. Bush barely seems to know like what he's so sure that he's going to entertain you. That's
Right.
his focus, and it's just much more annoying to see actually. Georgia, we don't talk enough about how evil the Bushes and the
Oh, no.
Cheneys
Yeah, I
are. I
agree.
feel like
And I guess I want to be clear that I don't in any way think that like Cheney is less dangerous. The Cheneys are less dangerous than Trump. I totally agree with you on that. I just think there's this one weird thing, which is like Liz Cheney saying that she doesn't think the election was stolen is their line in the sand.
yeah, I mean, is the line of sand for the Trumpers, but it's like,
Yeah.
well, it should be if you were like in the party, right?
I
Like,
guess, yeah.
First of all, it's goofy, dim logic to think. Wait, so you're saying if the situation were reversed,
I wish the
you-
Dems would be like
yeah,
that, though
you
they're
wouldn't
not.
fight like hell. Well, then that just means you're a chump. Like,
I guess so, yeah.
I'm sorry. I know you're supposed to play by the rules, but this is politics. These are a bunch of people who order death strikes on children. So like, stop talking about the rules like they're real. Like we're talking about people who kill people all the time. Like this is like talking about the rules of like the Sopranos or something like that. You know, like
Yeah.
it's so fucking silly. Like these are people who are signing off on mass death, day in, day out in the halls of Congress and the White House. So like, why are you talking about the rules? No, it's about power. It's the only thing that fucking matters. And not the Tea Party, but the Trumpers are exercising their power over Liz Cheney in much the same way the Democrats have repeatedly exercised their power on Bernie Sanders. So I guess maybe is that why he feels sympathy for her? I think we cracked the case. Cracked the case. He feels sympathy for her because she's being treated exactly how he has been treated by the
Oh,
Democrats.
wow, I
So
like that.
actually, we can just pull back. We can forget maybe this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's just really just about Daddy Bernie's personal trauma. And he's just trying to work through that
Yeah.
by reaching out to Liz Cheney, who has experienced a similar thing.
Allyship.
And
Solidarity.
I won't judge him. He's going through it. He's going through it. So I'm not going to judge.
I like that, Leslie. That was amazing the way you did that. You really thread that needle. So what do you think of what's happening now? And because you actually, in your book, just going back to